Hello, my name is Margaret Mückstein. I'm CEO and founder of Cloudomation. We recently launched Cloudomation DevStack, our platform for cloud development environments, in short, CDEs. While doing this, I've been talking a lot to software developers, engineering managers, directors of engineering, and CTOs to find out what the pain points are related to local development environments that we aim to solve with our cloud development environments product. One thing I've noticed, and that bugs me a lot, and I only yesterday had a conversation that showed it again, is how different CTOs and directors of engineering seem to perceive issues with local deployment in comparison to how software engineers perceive it themselves. As an example, and I've had situations like this repeatedly in different companies. I talked to a software engineer, a senior software engineer, and she described to me that she actually works on a fairly complex software. It's several components, they're containerized, but deploying it locally, even though it's all containerized, can be a bit cumbersome. It requires her to configure the different components to work with each other. Well, it requires her to troubleshoot her Docker Compose file. Sometimes it doesn't all work as it should. Since she is a senior developer and she's been doing it for quite a while, she says by now she's quite good at it. Actually, most times it works well, but it's something she does every day, deploying locally. Also, she works on different projects, different products. So she actually has to remove her development environment and set up something locally fresh regularly. A lot of context switching. When I talked to her, I asked her, so how much time do you actually spend troubleshooting your local development environments or your local deployments? And she said, maybe an hour per week, but that's just, exception handling and troubleshooting. But then she thought about it and said, most time though, I spend actually supporting my junior colleagues with this, teaching them how to deploy the software locally, how to troubleshoot issues that come up, how to set up their individual and unique development environments. Since they all have different laptops, they all run slightly different software. So how to actually get that all running smoothly, installing all dependencies, making sure it all works, and then helping them through issues as they arise. I asked her, how much time do you actually spend on that? And she said, well, about a day per week. And this is a senior software developer, so a highly valuable person. She said this is probably the case for all senior developers in her company. And she said that junior developers spend at least as much time getting help and trying to troubleshoot themselves. So naturally I said, well, this sounds like you might really benefit from using something like cloud development environments because they solve this problem. You just click a button, you get a development environment. You don't have to know anything about Docker Compose. You just work, you write code, you do what you're supposed to be doing. And if you need to switch context, work on a different project, work on a different version of your software, you just deploy a different RD CDE and that's it. And she said, yeah, well, she's not sure if that's a priority for management, but sure, she can ask, And actually, I did get a meeting with the CEO and the director of engineering, and what happened? The director of engineering seemed completely unaware of the issues. So I started a call asking if local deployments were an issue for them, and if this was really something that they felt needed work. And the director of engineering said, what? No, our deployment is extremely simple. It's just running a Docker Compose and that's it. So I understand the use case for CDs. It's for complex software, and if you actually have hardware requirements that cannot be met with laptops, but it's not the case for us. Everything we do is really simple, and all the developers can do it, and it's not a problem. He also then said, for him, it's a totally a requirement that all developers should know how to actually deploy the software. And by doing this locally every day, this is how they learn it. We talked for about half an hour. I was not really able to convince him that his perspective might actually be different from that of his developers. And this is something that I've seen quite often. So two things. One is that directors of engineering and CTOs in particular, even at smallish companies, so this is not thousands of developers and CTO being completely removed from what they do. These are companies that have less than 100 people, and the engineering team is not actually that big. So the director of engineering should have awareness of what his people are actually dealing with on a daily basis. But still, he's a senior engineer. He probably also doesn't code a lot, so he has to actually do a local deployment maybe once a month. but he has complete lack of awareness how much time is actually spent on troubleshooting local deployments, on learning how to do this, on fixing issues that junior, mid-level, and senior developers still have with this local deployment. This is also time that is not tracked. This is time that is just, padded on top of the time that it takes every single individual ticket to close, every single individual feature to deploy. It's just inflated by 20, 30, maybe more percent, because developers spend a lot of time just getting the local deployment to run, and then troubleshooting if issues arise, and then only starting coding after all of that is actually done. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to actually go and talk to your developers and ask them, and create a setting where they also feel comfortable to be honest about issues they might have with local development deployments, with actually getting everything running locally, how much time they actually spend on this, whether or not they enjoy doing this. And if it's not you as a director of engineering or CTO going to people and expecting to get an honest answer, because you might not, then maybe you should find other ways to find out. For example, asking your engineering managers to talk about this with their teams, or just sit in on stand-ups and listen to people complaining about yet another Docker networking configuration issue that they had. And you will notice that this goes on a lot.